that's the way that I first learned that Charlie Parker, Donna Lee lick when I was 15. I learned it in this position. I was trying to remember it because it's actually a really awkward place to play it. It's just that the fingering is really... The guy that showed it to me, his name was Mark Mineta. I never made a connection with the melody there until I actually played it here. Oh, now check that out versus... That's similar, but this... Right there. Then you go. Then I can probably go. Let's see. That. I'm not making a connection with this first part, but here I connect with. Why? Well, you're soloing over A flat major 7, and you start on the major 7th, and you're going. That's the first important point of the melody. It really kind of teaches you how to play bebop and where the chromatic notes go. So right here, there's a chromatic passing note. You go from the major 7th to the root and back to the major 7th. And then you walk down to the 5th. And that leads you to the 3rd of the F7 chord. Okay, that's the second chord in the tune. So right on the downbeat of that second chord, in this position, I can see where that melody's going. Here, I don't quite have a connection to the melody because I'm not seeing that chromaticism. Right there, I never made the connection that this is the 6th to the flat 6th to the 5th there, but when I learned the melody later on, I figured that out. So then the second, let's see, then I went to here. Once again, that's over the F7 flat 9. Those are the right notes. But here, I can't connect once again because of where the positioning is with this. If I play it there, I can connect because I can see the shape here. I can see that this is the 5th because it's straight across from the F7 chord, and I can go. And I know that's the 5th to the flat 7 to the root, and then I see this little trill here, hammer on pull off, from the flat 9 to the sharp 9, flat 9 to the root, to the flat 7 to the 3rd of the B flat 7. I can see right there. Well, there is actually okay if I play the melody. Then I have to think. So the positioning of these lines is extremely important to make connections with what you're actually playing and what the analysis is of what you're playing. Or in this case, what the analysis of what Charlie Parker was writing. Because there's a lot to be learned just from learning the melody of this. Just starting with that opening. Right? If I do it there. Or if I do it here. Then I go, well, that's not really a smart jump. But then I could go down here. Maybe. Knowing this in all these different positions actually teaches you where these notes are, these altered notes and things like that. So in the first bar, I've learned something about bebop. One of the things in bebop is that you fill in that gap between, for example, the 6th and the 5th of the scale, at least on major 7th chords. On dominant 7th chords, we have things like the bebop dominant, which is, if I have a B flat 7 chord, I can fill in the gap between the root and the flat 7. but on a major seventh chords, I did it here. So I did it in two different positions. I did. So I'm going 6, flat 6 to the 5. Then I go, well, I did something a little different there. What did I do there? I went from the major 7th. So I used another chromatic passing tone there to fill in the gap between the major 7th and the 6th on a major 7th chord, okay? It's different than doing the... But if I have this, right? If I do, if I start up here, I can fill in. So I'm filling in all those chromatic notes. Anytime there's a whole step in the scale, so I'm thinking of A flat major 7 chord, like pentatonic scale, but right? There we go. Okay, so I got that to the 3rd there. That goes right to the 3rd of that B flat 7 chord there. So he's going 3rd, 5th, flat 7, 9th, all right? That's actually D minor 7, flat 5 arpeggio. But learning it in a different spot there, I can really see it here because I see the chord shape there. So I'm going 3rd, 5th, flat 7, 9th, to the 13th. Da-do-da-do-do-do-do. Okay, so right there I'm learning something about where chromaticism happens in bebop, just from learning the melody to Donna Lee, which was actually the first bebop melody I ever learned. If I continue on, okay, so he does a pickup. So when he goes to the downbeat of the B flat chord, B flat minor 7, he's playing the E flat. He's doing a surround out. Why is he doing that? Well, really, because he's actually thinking of E flat 7 there. That's an obvious. Most people play B flat minor 7. But then I say, well, what about that? Because that then looks like the shape of B flat minor 7. So we have a lot of these chromatic notes there. This note here, it's more of a B flat minor major 7. And when you go to that note, that's obviously the change to the dominant chord because that goes to the sharp 5. So this is really, that is really a B flat minor or E flat 7. The two are really interchangeable. I always talk about twoing the 5. But this is actually one of the most sophisticated melodies because it does some really unconventional things there, which is really incredibly cool. So you've got a surround tone here, so I'm surrounding the 4th of the chord. I could be... Actually, if I play an E flat 7 chord, E flat 9, and I play the same lick, it goes to this, it goes right around. Well, that's really obvious obviously all B flat minor 7. That's the way you can tell it, because so right there, I've learned something. So I go sharp 5 to the 3rd. Sometimes they'll actually add the there's a 16th note in there. Most people just play. So coming right down that dominant 7 sharp 5 some, and the flat 7 resolves to the 3rd. Well, that happens a lot of times in the tune. Think about it. You got right here flat, or the 7th to the 3rd. Okay, I've got this, and then there's a flat 7 of F7 to the 3rd of the B flat chord. Then I go. There's your flat 7. Well, that says something different there, because the flat 7 of the, I'm sorry, the flat 3rd, it's a flat 7 of the E flat chord there, but flat 3rd of the B flat to the sharp 5, and there's our flat 7 to 3rd resolution. So this lick here on the A flat major 7, going 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th to the root. It's kind of like this. So just taking the melody, you can start to find out where Charlie Parker would put in these chromatic notes. Because right in the first few bars of playing the melody, we have the chromatic passing tone. Between the 6th and the 5th on the A flat major 7 chord, we have a resolution. He actually sets up. That's really, so you got, so he's going from this note, the B flat to the A flat. It's almost like you're going. It's almost like you're going C7. That's interesting. If I go, if I play C minor 7 to F7, that's actually a 2-5 there. So what would this be? Well, that's really almost like going. Then. Right? So I add those roots in there, and it kind of shows me where the melody is going. Then, let's see. So then on the E flat 7 chord, that really sets up the major 9 here on this chord. So I go. This is the minor 2. This is the 2-5 to D flat. He goes a sharp 5 on the A flat 7 chord. Some people will play which would work as well doing the tritone sub there. So, what does it tell me about this? That's the downbeat of the E flat minor 7 chord, and I go. I walk right up from the root. So actually, there's a pickup into the downbeat, and he goes right to the 3rd of the minor 7th chord. Downbeat. That's the 3rd of this chord, E flat minor 7. Then this. That's a G flat major 7 arpeggio, but it's 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th. We've already done that, right? We did this. We did 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, 13 to the 5th, then. Okay, so what is that? If I do this, that's kind of like. That's using that sharp 5 again. it's going sharp 5 to third, and then so that's on the ninth of this chord, a D flat major 7. Okay, this starts to get really complex again. So I have a lot of chromaticism here. So I've got this 2-5 to D flat. Then so if we go from this chord here, so you go and I'm thinking like, okay, what is that? Goes to the C. Well, that's a third of the A flat chord. Okay, so it's making these connections. So I'm like, what note is that? That's the root of this chord, of the G flat 7 chord. Okay, so because it's going. Then, right? So root, flat 7, 13 to the 5th, to the third of the A flat chord. Once again, we have a third on the downbeat. There's thirds in the downbeat all the way through this tune. And where you decide to play these things is really important, because the fingering will actually determine whether you make a connection into what you're playing over. If I play it, I don't really have a connection right there necessarily. Okay, I can say, okay, yeah, I can see the A flat chord. I can see the third of the chord there, but okay, I can see that there. I can see an E flat. I can see a D flat minor 7 chord right there. In that position, which is the 2 chord of this 5 chord, if you think of that, right? This flat 7 dominant, which is leading back in. But if I play it here, it's really obvious, because I've got the root. And I can see the third there. So these fingerings are really important on the guitar, especially where to play these things, because it will, just learning the melodies of Charlie Parker tunes will help you learn how to play bebop by seeing where he put his chromaticism. He does it on so many of his songs. If I think of Charlie Parker licks, let me think here. If I think of Billy's Bounce, okay, what was he doing there? So you got an F blues. So you got the flat third, that's like a blues sound, but this, what is this though? So he's got the 5th, lower neighbor tone. And I've got the flat third up to the major third, which is like a major blues sound. He's using the 6th there. The bebop players would use the 6th a lot on dominant chords, and they use the 6th a lot on major chords. You know, I'm always saying don't play the 6th on things. In bebop, the 6th was used a lot because it was a holdover tone from swing music. Because in swing, they would play 6th chords instead of, you wouldn't hear them play major 7th chords that much. For tonic chords, they would play a 6. So I would play an A flat 6 instead of an A flat major 7. The major 7th chord as a 1 chord started to be being used later on, but you'll see a lot of 6th in melodies. And you'll see 6th used in a very particular way. They'll use it as an upper neighbor tone to the 5th, okay? Just like if I go. So that's the 6th or the 13. But it's really, it's 6-5 out of a B flat 7 chord, right? So you got So that's actually a great example of using that. Now, continuing on with Donna Lee, then we've got then. Okay, so you're on the third of the A flat 7 chord, and you've got. Once again, here's this chromaticism. So I'm out in the third, and I go. If I only did one C, it happened like this. It would actually come in the wrong spot. He actually has it. So we end up on the downbeat of the F7 chord, adding that extra chromatic note on the C. There's your next target note. So you're going from the third to the fifth of the A flat. Okay, you're filling in that area there, but two notes on the. Okay, that's really starting to get interesting. So you go. We got this third on the F7 chord, so we've gone. That's the exact same resolution as. Same thing. That is getting really tricky there. This is a very Charlie Parker line. You're on B flat. So you've got. Now that's a surround tone, but it's actually a surround tone. And then he does a chromatic descending line down to the flat 5. This is actually really sophisticated. I might play it there. Once again, context is really important. Right there is a good spot for me because I can connect with that. But it's still an odd thing to play. He's going from the 7th of the B flat chord to the 3rd. And then that's a great sound there. It really gives you the flat 5 sound of that B flat chord. So in the first, however many bars this is, the first 12 bars or so of Donna Lee, that's like a whole lesson in bebop chromaticism. It really teaches you how to outline the chords. But what is the thing that you see really frequently? You're seeing the third on the downbeat of the chords a lot. And that is a thing that I talk about when I talk about standards. When you want to learn how to play over standards, one of the things that you have to learn how to do is you got to be able to play things other than the root on the downbeat. The root can be important. Root's important on things like blues, but in standards you need to be able to play the thirds. You need to be able to play the fifths. The thirds are really important though, outlining them where they are. Anyways, so Michelle, did you have? We're gonna take some questions. Do we have any questions here? Oh, I want to say before I go on here, I've got a discount on the Beato book for the next day here. MT341 is the code. And then for mastering modes of the major scale, we got 25% off. MT425 is the code for that. And then if you want the Beato book and the PDF, the 68-page PDF bundle, I have that for $25 off just for today. So for the next 24 hours, it'll be up. And that's it. I don't have that. I sell that like once a month, maybe at the most, as a bundle.
Questions?
Questions, yes, Michelle.
First, what year is that Telecaster?
I'm not sure, actually. It's probably about 15 years old. I just had it fixed. I had my friend Dave Honorato, who's one of the best guitar players I know, and he's one of the best guitar repair guys. I had a chip in the neck of it that was that the lacquer had come off. It was a really pretty bad dent in it. And I realized it as I was playing that I don't feel that anymore because it was right around the 7th to 9th fret. There's a chunk been taken out of the neck for years. And he fixed it, and I kept thinking as I was playing, man, my guitar feels really good here for some reason. And it's because of that spot has been fixed. But this is I'd say probably a 15-year-old guitar or something like that. It's not a vintage one, but it's an incredibly good playing American standard. Michelle, another question?
Another question. Can you talk about the harmonic major scale and the minor scale?
The harmonic major and harmonic minor scale, and the minor scale? I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah. The harmonic major scale and minor scale.
Okay, let me talk about the harmonic minor. Well, in the context of this, let me talk about the harmonic minor scale, because the harmonic minor scale this is actually a good tune to talk about that, about how to use it in a context of jazz. Harmonic minor scales really work well over minor 2-5-1s. Now, later on in the song, it goes. How's it go? That's the Jocko, yeah. So, when he's going. So there's a bunch of minor 2-5s that happen in Donna Lee, and they come after the so these minor 2-5s are. So I have an F harmonic minor that I can play. So right there, I've got G minor 7 flat 5. So if I've got, I'm thinking F harmonic minor. So right here in this position, 1 flat, 1 2 flat 3 4 5 flat 6 major 7. Just that scale, if you use the notes in the correct order, you can play over any minor 2-5-1 using the harmonic minor scale, and that's actually a great scale choice in this. So, that's a really cool. What I'm doing there. So I'd like to do do a little transition here and use this this tag that is really cool to use in standards. I want to talk about this for a minute. Speaking of that, so coming out of this harmonic minor section, this entire section here, you can play play F harmonic minor all through this. Up until that part where that descending progression happens, you can actually use F harmonic minor. But you can't just use the scale and just rip harmonic minor licks off. What you have to do is you got to know which notes to start on and which ones to end on. So when I'm playing, when I go to that third of the C7 chord, I'm on the B flat here of this G half diminished chord, G minor 7 flat 5. B flat is the third. Flat 7 to the third. Flat 7 of the C7 to the third of the F minor. So this is honestly, this is actually a great tune to use harmonic minor on. But this descending progression, I'm going to talk about this for a second. So, okay, so if I'm going, typically on the tune you got it'll go from just it'll have a from F minor 7 to hold on one second. I have to type something in here so I can get my Michelle, can you do that please? I've lost my lighting over here from my computer. Thank you. So typically, you can actually see better here, Michelle, right? My guitar.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the lighting from my computer's lighting up the guitar, so I know that you couldn't see my hand as well. So F minor 7. Typically, if you look at the chart, it goes from F minor 7 to B flat diminished, or to B diminished 7, which is really a weird. It's actually a very odd chord change. It's a very odd move to have that tritone root movement like that. So you need to connect it, and the best way to connect it is F minor 7 to F minor 7 over E flat. So I'm going to the flat 7. Then so I go D minor 7 flat 5. Then I go to D flat minor 6. I'll do it here. F minor 7, F minor 7 over E flat, D minor 7 flat 5 to D flat minor 6 to A flat add 9 over C, F 7 flat 9, B flat minor 7, E flat 7. So that's a turn on. That progression can be used in a lot of different tunes there. Matter of fact, you could use that in All the Things You Are. That is that's a really standard jazz progression to use. So, and you would avoid that diminished chord, but even if you want to play the diminished chord, then you say, let's see here, what's a closer diminished chord? Well, F minor 7. So any of those diminished chords work. So I would find something that makes that flow into that B diminished chord. But really, if you look at the melody, it is a B flat, or it is a B diminished chord, because Charlie Parker goes, which is a great line. He goes right up to diminished 7th, then he goes to the flat 6th on the chord there. once again, even in that entire turnaround, we have this flat third to the seventh, or flat third to the seventh, flat third, flat seven to third, flat seven to third, because this is flat seven of F7 to the third of B flat minor 7. And then ends up on the root there at the end. Okay, Michelle, another question?
Rick, please demonstrate soloing over Donna Lee using pentatonic.
Using pentatonic. Okay, so this is cool. Speaking of Donna Lee and pentatonics. Donna Lee and pentatonics, what's really cool about it is this. If you start, for example, let's say we start here on A flat major pentatonic. Okay, so what am I doing there? On the A flat major 7 chord, let's say I play an A flat major pentatonic. So I played, so I'm doing A flat major pentatonic right down here in the first position. Right, for the 1 chord. Then when I go to the F7 chord, if I do a that is actually kind of a cool sound there. So I'm going A flat major. I'm doing A flat major pentatonic to A major pentatonic over the F chord. Even though it gives me the major 7th in it, it actually sounds cool. That's actually kind of a cool trick to use, even though you have the major 7th on the dominant chord there, because that half-step pentatonic trick, I know that you guys have, many of you have used it on 2-5-1s, for example. You could use that same thing if I were to, let's say I'm playing over a, I could use the same thing over B flat minor 7. I could use A flat major pentatonic over that, and then over E flat 7 altered, I could use A major pentatonic, then on A major 7 sharp 11. So really, I could play in the first whole section of this. Okay, so I'm using the same 3 pentatonic scales, all a half step apart. So here's the A flat major 7, F7, B flat major 7, B flat minor 7, E flat 7 altered, A flat major 7 sharp 11. Okay, so right in this one position, so that would be kind of a sophisticated way to use pentatonics on this. So for the first, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bars, you could actually use just these 3 major pentatonic scales in the first 3 frets. And you could do it anywhere, really. I could play the A flat major pentatonic, let's see up here. Right, so I'm doing this major pentatonic. And it gives you some of the upper extensions on these chords. It gives you upper extensions on the B flat 7 chord. It gives you upper extensions on the A flat major 7 chord. And that's kind of a cool trick to use for pentatonics. Michelle, another question? This is actually a great pentatonic tune.
Will you ever do how the pros use reverb video?
Yes, I will. I was actually going to do a mixing video instead of this right now, but I have to, in order to do use reverb, I have to call someone and get their permission to use a session. One of the sessions that I've done, I have to get permission from an artist, so I have to figure out a tune that I want to use to demonstrate it on, and then get the permission to use it before I can actually put it up. So that's why I actually was going to talk about something like that. I was actually going to talk about doing a mixing tutorial instead of this, which I'll do one, which I've really never done. But I'll do one maybe later this week or so, talk about using reverb. That's a great question.
Adam Neely always talks about how important it is to keep a straight wrist while playing bass. Do you think that applies to guitar too?
Do I keep a straight wrist? I don't know. Is my wrist moving, Michelle? I don't know. I don't know if I keep a straight wrist. No, I don't think it. I think everybody's technique is different. People that rest their hand, that play like this. There's people that play without resting their hand. There's people that play with their fingers extended like this. I don't think that there's any rule with it. Some people play with their middle finger. It's really weird for me. I have friends that play and hold the pick with their middle finger. They feel like it's more balanced, and they can play a tremolo stroke much faster. As a matter of fact, Eddie Van Halen, I think when he plays his really fast tremolos, goes to the middle finger, and he does that because the pick is actually more in the center of your hand. There's more of a fulcrum there, and it's easier to do when he's doing a tremolo, like in Eruption, for example, he does it. I've seen him do this where he does that really quick switch to the middle finger and does tremolo like that. So I don't think that the wrist, I think it's really different for different people. Pat Martino plays with a really stiff wrist. Pat Metheny holds his hand and plays a lot like this. He actually uses his wrist a lot. So some players do it, some players don't. So I wouldn't say that, it's not like not playing the bass. Bass is a little bit different. Michelle?
Some good books / recordings / methods to learn jazz vocabulary.
The Charlie Parker Omni book is one great one because that's got all Charlie's solos in it.
Okay.
That's definitely probably the best one to learn. There's a couple other good ones though that I'm not sure if are in print. There's a jazz guitar one. Well, obviously the Beato book is probably the best one for jazz vocabulary. But Joe Pass Guitar Style, his original book, I don't know if it's still if it's in print or not. That's a very good book. And there's a new Wes Montgomery book out that I've not seen that is probably pretty good, although it's probably difficult to read. The Joe Pass book is not in tab, so that might be a little bit difficult. So I would say the Omni book, but reading is really important for this stuff. These tunes are not easy to read. Bebop has so much chromaticism in it that is really, to read it you have to be a good reader. You can learn it and you can kind of hack your way through it, and that's what I would do. That's what I did when I first started. I wasn't a great reader on the guitar. Guitar is a very hard instrument to read on, so. Michelle?
Oh, it's actually for bass solos.
Oh, for bass solos.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what the guy's talking about?
Yep, he followed up.
Oh, okay. Well, once again, everybody's technique is different, but I'm trying to think of bass players that, I'm thinking of Jocko and Victor Wooten and how they, what their wrist looks like, and once again, it's probably a personal thing, but most guys that I know, I'm thinking about that, most play with a pretty, they don't move their wrist a lot, so, once again, it's hard to say, hard to make generalizations about techniques, because everybody's musculature is different.
Mm-hmm.
Some people that have the weirdest technique can play amazing things. So that's why I don't like to say, oh, there's only one way to do it, because it really depends on your physiology. Michelle.
Can you please discuss the style of Gabor Szabo? Szabo. Gabor. Gabor.
Yeah. No. I could, but but.
And then, could you play and do an analysis on Triste?
Triste. Triste is a that's like a whole video to do an analysis on that. That's a really, really complex chord progression to do. Those of you, that's a Jobim tune, and it's that's pretty. You know, a lot of the Jobim tunes are really sophisticated to analyze, and they take it takes a lot of time. You know, I'm not talking about how insensitive, because that's got a lot of time. But I'm talking things like wave. So many chords to do an analysis of that. Triste is just like that. There's a lot of different changes in it, so that's a whole video in itself. That's actually great. Put that down on the list,
Yep.
Michelle. That's a great song to do a video on.
What more to expect from the Beato Academy? Love the modes lesson.
Okay, so the Beato Academy, I have a series called Futuristic Guitarist that's coming out that I've been working on for a while here. It's not quite done yet. And then I'm working on my ear training series, which is really very involved. So those are things that are both in the works right now. So that's kind of I'll probably get the Futuristic Guitarist video series done first, and then the ear training one I'm hoping to have done by January. So that's kind of looking over the horizon, but I would say that the next set of courses is going to come out probably by Thanksgiving, if I had to guess. Let me do the Michelle, have you been putting in with the? Okay, so we got $10 off the Beato book MT341. That's actually for the whole weekend. That's a Veterans Day sale. Just for today. Modes of the major scale, 25% off the course. MT425 is the code. And for the Beato book and the 68-page PDF bundle, that's on sale for $25 off. If you don't have the Beato book, this is a great deal. Today's the day to buy this. It's only going to be available for the next 24 hours. So I actually just put it up. I posted that on my store just before I went on. And I only post that about once every couple months or so as a special.
Do you pick slant?
Do I what?
Pick slant.
Pick slant? Is that what you're saying?
PICKSLANT.
Do I pick? Oh, does my pick slant? Do I slant my pick when I'm playing? Is
Up
that what
or
you're
down?
saying? Yes. Sometimes I do actually. Depends on what I'm playing. If I'm doing a guitar part and I'm playing through a Vox and I want to have the guitar have a chime with it, sometimes I'll slant my pick, and I'll pick with more with the side of the pick and get a scratch. With a scratch, I don't typically pick with the side of the pick unless I want to do pick squeals with it. Where if you're playing with distortion, you want it to squeal. If you're playing a metal tune, and you want to get a harmonic out, then you pick with the pick slanted, and you'll get that harmonic, a really nice harmonic with it. So yeah, I do it actually sometimes.
Could you talk a bit about chord substitution theory and how to approach them?
Okay, chord substitution. I've talked a lot about that, but the first things to do with chord substitution are find chords that are variants of the chords that you're playing. Okay, it doesn't have to be a complete new chord. For example, if I have a 2-5-1 in Donna Lee, like this, B flat minor 7 to E flat 7 to A flat major 7, B flat minor 11 as the 2 chord instead of B flat minor 7. It's got more color to it. B flat minor 9 could be, right? It's more like a Holdsworth chord. And then could be E flat 7 altered, so sharp 5, sharp 9 to A flat Lydian or A flat major 7 sharp 11. So that's a chord substitution right there without even substituting the chord. I could go 2, 5, 2, 5, 1. That would be a chord substitution using a tritone substitute, but I'm twoing that tritone substitute. Okay, so instead of going, that would use a tritone substitute. So instead of B flat minor 7 to E flat 7, I go B flat minor 7 to A13 or A7. That's the tritone substitute. It's a half step above the root of the tonic chord. But I can go 2, 5, 2, 5, 1. So I put a 2 in front of the tritone sub. So I did E minor 7 to A7 to A flat major 7. That's the kind of stuff you hear Wes Montgomery do a lot. Then you start getting in, after that, then you can start getting into more obscure substitutions and substituting off different notes of the chord. So instead of 2, 5, 1, or 2, 5, 1, I might do 2, 5. So I did a D flat major 6 sound, D flat major 7. That's as a sub for a B flat minor 7, and then I went to a third inversion of an E flat 7 chord. Instead of E flat here, I went here, and then I did C minor 7 flat 6 as a sub for A flat major 7. So that time I did C major over E flat to A flat major 7 sharp 11. Or I could go so I did D flat major 7 instead of this. I went up to the third of the chord and played the major 7. Let's see. So I did D flat major 7. D flat major 7 to D flat minor 7 to C major over E flat to C major over A flat to A flat major 13. Or I could have gone to there's many different substitutions. There's in my book, I've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of substitutions that you can do just over 2/5. There's substitutions, tons of them that you can do over the 1/6-2/5 or the 3/6-2/5, like in the turnaround. This tune, Donna Lee, for example, has 2 turnarounds: 1/6-2/5, 3/6-2/5, 1. Okay, so there's 2 sets of 2/5s in it, and those you can do a lot of different things. I go. I could do a substitute like that. So I did like E flat sus instead of going. I did a pedal on the dominant. E flat, D flat over E flat, E major over E flat to B sus 4 over E flat to major 7. That would be another kind of substitute. So thousands and thousands of substitutes. You can do cycling substitutes. You can do the Coltrane changes as substitutes. You can do straight chord substitution where you play actually different chords. You can play the chords in altered versions of themselves. You could, instead of playing B flat minor to E flat 7, you can play B flat dominant to E flat dominant to A flat dominant. That would be another type of chord substitution. I make them all dominant chords there. So Donna Lee could really be a dominant chord on the tonic chord, right? Instead of very different sound. It's kind of cool. You hear that the tonic chord being a dominant chord, more like a blues. So, Michelle,
Yep.
a couple more.
Okay. So, what was your view on the shred movement during the 80s?
On the shred movement, love it. Anything in particular though? Do you mean Yngwie? Do you mean Steve Vai? Do you mean, because there's a lot of different players, Warren DeMartini or John Petrucci, or there's so many different shredders in there. Reb Beach, Vito Bratta, all these guitar players from all these bands. There's, great guitar players. I'm a guitar player. I like shredding. Marty Friedman. I've got my Marty Friedman episode that I need to put out. My interview with Marty. But yeah, it's I'm a big fan. I love the shredder movement. I love modern shredder guitar players too. So.
Any chance of a sounding off with Joe Satriani?
I've reached out to Joe's manager, Mick, and not heard back. So that's kind of where that is. But I'd love that to happen. I'll reach out to him again and see if I can get that happening. A lot of times it's tough with guys that tour a lot to find time. Although I talked to John Petrucci when he was on tour. My brother's going to see him play tonight in Rochester, and I got an email from John today, and I did an interview with him when he was on tour. So it depends. It's probably not Joe. It's probably his manager is not just not reaching back out to me for some reason. So I'll keep trying though.
What do you think of Sean Lane?
Sean Lane was a great guitar player. I get asked about Sean Lane occasionally. It's weird though that I don't know why I don't get asked about him very often. He was a great guitar player. He had a really I don't know a lot about what he died. I want to say at 40 or so, and I don't know I know that he had some type of disorder. I don't know what it was, but he was a great player, a really influential player too, and should really, I don't see people don't ask me about him that often. That's really, really interesting. I don't know why. Did he have anything in particular? For those of you that don't know Sean Lane, you should look up some of his videos on YouTube. There's tons of them, but most of them are from the 80s or early 90s. But he was a great shredder guitar player. He was a great guitar player, period. Played some, incredibly, he was really influential to a lot of the guitar players in that time period. One more, Michelle.
All right, and what about Django Reinhardt and Gypsy Jazz?
Love it. That's a whole nother,
Video.
video.
Yep.
Some of these topics are, you know, better with just simple questions that I can answer. And what do I think about Django Reinhardt? Well, that's a 1 hour question with me. Anybody that follows my videos knows that that can be an incredibly long answer. Okay, I think we're good. Michelle, we cool?
Mm-hmm.
Great. Thanks everybody for watching. Check out my video that I put out last night. It's film scoring with 3 chords. I do I basically show how to build orchestration using.
Oh my god, a lot of questions now. Oh my god.
What?
What scale did Django use in minor swing?
I'll do a video on Django.
Yep.
I'll try and do one next week on Django.
And any etudes for chord inversions and voicings and using them instinctively in voice leading.
Wait, what was the first part of that?
Etude.
Etude.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Etude for voice leading. What was it for?
Chord inversions, voicings, and using them instinctively in voice leading.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a bunch of them in my book where I talk about, you know, where I'll do inversions and I walk up. Or I do things like that. Those are really great for, you know, if you're playing an F dominant chord. So those are, you know, there's just so many chord inversions to practice that, you know, if I take I have a lot of different exercises that I practice for that, so that's just stuff that you have to practice the fingerings of them. You got to sit down and work through them. There's just so many to know that I have tons of chords in my book, and practicing them, and I've done a bunch of videos on them too. So I've done a couple, I think, really good videos on chord soloing that you should check out. I don't remember the names of them, but I remember I did one video that I really thought came out well, and I don't know if anybody watched it or not. I can't remember, it was so long ago, but I have a video on chord soloing that's a cool video, so you should check that out, because I talk about practicing chord inversions and that, and to use chromatic sidestepping with it. I think that's good, Michelle.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Thanks everybody for watching. If you have questions, give it a thumbs up, by the way. If you have questions that you want to leave in the comments section, please leave them after the video is over right now.
All right.
And check out my video from last night, my film scoring video. Thanks everybody.